I'm paying my bills, I'm paying my rent. Like, I'm doing this thing. Like, what I'm doing is because of me, not because, my parents are doing it for me, not because of, the government is, paying for my schooling or lunch or whatever. Now I'm doing this.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Driven. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing on how we adjusted to adulthood. Now, when we say we adjusted to adulthood, what does that mean?
I think we had talked about it, and pretty much it's right after high school.
Okay.
Once you're graduate high school, or you're not in high school anymore, because you could drop out. I think that's when adulthood pretty much starts.
Yeah, I think that's based off our experience, because I know how you mentioned we talked about it, and it's a lot different when you're in school, when you're from elementary to middle school to high school. And then once you graduate high school, now you're in the real world. Now you could either go to college, you could go work, or you could just do nothing.
Yeah. And so, like, in school, it was really structured. Like, you were told what to do. Like, you knew what high school you were going to. You went in there, you were given your classes. You need to do this. These are what the things you need to do in each class in order for you to get an A. This is lunch. You start at this time, you end at this time, and then, you have homework. So you were told pretty much exactly what to do and when to do it and how to do it. But once out of high school, you just graduate, and then you're just out in the world, and then there's really no one telling you what to do, unless you got you have parents that are telling you what to do and whatnot, which I think it gives some guidance to life. But if, for example, maybe not that if you don't have parents, but maybe if your parents are letting you do kind of yourself, I think people could get lost, because it's just the whole world is a very big place, and kind of figuring out what you want to do, I think it can get harder. And so it's very different from high school, super structured, to out in the real world. You could do anything, or like you said, nothing you want. And so I think, and so that's pretty much how we're defining it, adjusting to adulthood.
Since leaving high school, I know we've done a lot of things. It wasn't just a clear path. Okay, we're gonna from high school, we're gonna start a business, we're gonna be successful. It's just we had to go through a lot of things. But in your case, how was that like? Okay, and maybe if you could share what happened straight out of high school.
Yeah, and so being in high school, you're being told, go to college, apply for colleges, apply to the Cal States, apply to the UCLA's. You're given 3 free applications and whatnot. And so naturally, and then also, I guess, just a backstory, my parents, they never really went to college or had really any education like that per se. And so they also had the same idea, go to college. But they never really told me you have to go to college. I think that's one of the things that I do appreciate about them, is that I think they saw, and then it also goes because what we did in high school. I think we were pretty okay students. And so they kind of had trust in us to know what they had trust in us to know that whatever we were gonna do was gonna be good. And so so with all that, going to college was the natural path. And so I did apply to colleges, and then I think the easiest and cheapest one, relatively speaking, was Cal State Los Angeles. And so I was gonna go there, but then because it was more expensive, I just decided to go to trade school or
Trade Tech, public school.
Community college. Yeah, community college. And so I went there for a year and a half, but then I know that it wasn't for me. So being in school, that's what I was told to do, so I did do it. And so that kind of helped me, at least not just being thrown out and then what now. It's went to school, but then I know that path wasn't probably going to be the quickest or most optimal way, and fastest is not always the best, but that's how I thought back then. And so, but being in college, I did pretty okay, but I knew it wasn't going to get us to the path. And so I know we what do you call it, and different opportunities came, and so then we did start selling. Well, I first started selling insurance, and then
I think more than anything, just your experience When did you know it was the right time to get a job? When did you know it was the right time to just try something else?
And I think you just just living through things, because I know ultimately my parents had a big influence in what it is that I did. And when I say my parents had an influence, I mean they didn't tell me anything. It's just that I knew that we wanted to retire them, and so everything that we did was towards that goal. And so having that goal in mind was, I think, what influenced to do the things. And so like I know, like, I went to college first, wasn't probably gonna get there as quick. So then trying a business, or selling insurance, was okay. Let me see how this goes. Didn't work out. Found out that probably something in e-commerce was best suited for like the personalities that I had. And so first got a job, then we started the clothing.
Yep.
And so naturally, and then I think also the videos that we watched influenced us, business. Yep. and whatnot. So I think that's why also we went that route. And so pretty much going through life and seeing whether things weren't working out, moving forward. And then when things did start working, we stuck with it and we continued. I think it was just like a natural progression of like life. We need to stop doing this, we need to start doing this, or we need to continue it. I think it just as we live life, we kind of like made the decision as to what it is that we needed to do. And so that's at least how we.
Yeah. And as you were talking, I have two things. The first one, I know you mentioned that how my parents raised us and just giving us that freedom. I think that's also important once you're out of high school, knowing that you have that freedom. Even though, let's say you have parents or authority figures that are telling you need to do this, you need to go to college, you need to, like, there's nothing else, like, screw work, screw trying to start a business, you need to go to college. At the end of the day, you still have that control over your own life, and just try to have that freedom. If you really want to do something, I mean, I think more than anything, just go after it. Mm-hmm. Especially when you're younger. So that's the first thing. And that's because we experienced that freedom. Because same for me. I experienced that freedom.
And then just really quick, but also knowing that what the actions that you do take and what it is that you do is going to have a result and an outcome. Correct. So like if you're just choosing to be young and be, just go out and party and then do all these crazy stuff, it does have like, in the future, it does have a lasting effect. Like that year and a half, 2 years, 3 years that you spend doing that's gone. You're not gonna have it back. And so also understanding that too.
Yeah, but I say it more towards like if you have parents or like I mentioned, authority figures that want you to go to college.
I just wanted to mention that, like because I know like hearing you could do whatever you want. Okay, fuck it, I'm gonna go and just be like a YOLO. So I guess just kind of like emphasizing, clarifying that that whatever it is that you do choose to do, it is going to have a lasting effect. Like and so I know you're going on your second point, but what we chose to do was sacrifice for 10 years.
Yep.
And now we're seeing the result of that.
Yep.
And so in the same way, you partied 3, 4, 5 years, you think you're still young, you partied for those half a decade, you lost that half a decade, and now you had to make it up. Because we've seen people at our age that are, just starting to try to figure their lives out. And so like it does have an effect.
I think my second point was, based on my experience, early on I realized that money was important, and not like being a millionaire or being like having thousands in the bank. Just to start a business, you need some type of capital. Because I remember the first time I realized that I needed to work was when I was I think I was out of high school, or I was nearing towards the end of high school, and I was still 17. I remember that my dad he lost one of the keys for the van.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and back then, just trying to replace the key, it was like minimum 200 to get the key and to program it. It was $200, and at the time it was a lot of money. It was just hard trying to get those 200 to get the replacement. And in my head, I'm like, man, like I need to find a way so that doesn't happen again. Yep. And I know the easiest way is finding jobs. Yep. And that's how I went, like from business to business. I went in and I asked, do you need any help? Like, I'm willing to work. I'm 17. And then eventually I went into the supermarket to the Superior. I asked the guy, I came in professional, dressed with the button-up shirt. And I asked him, like, I'm looking for work. Like, I don't have an experience. I'm 17. Like, can I work? And, he gave me the opportunity. but realizing that adulthood, it's your responsibility.
Yeah, and so like, and I think it just, through time, we just adjusted to it.
Yep.
Because I know like before in like school, it was very structured. Yeah. Now it isn't, and I think just trying to figure out what it is that we needed to do in order to get to that goal. We just needed to do that, figure it out, and then I think naturally we just adjusted to it. Pretty much everyone that's out of high school has adjusted to adulthood, and so yeah, I think for us at least, I think it was a natural progression. Like it wasn't like immediate. Like we still needed to figure ourselves out. Like, and when I say that, I mean figure out what we needed to do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're just adulthood. At some point we just started making like some money, so then we could move out of the place that we were, and then take over the payments that my parents used to take over. And I know that definitely like liberated them from like having to worry about payments, because pretty much once in 2020, I feel like that was the time that they kind of had to but they felt a little bit of relief, because I know before that, my dad and mom, both of them, like just the constant having to think about the bills, having to borrow money from family members, from my dad having to and having to like the check advance or checks, the those things.
Yeah.
And then it is a vicious cycle.
It is.
And so like, and I think at that point, once we kind of took over all of that, even though we took over all those responsibilities, I felt good.
Yeah. Because
now I know that they're not gonna worry. Now we're gonna worry about all that stuff, and so that really was at least in the adulthood, that was something really like that I really enjoyed, and I currently still enjoy, and like taking over the responsibilities and the bills. And I think once people do get to that stage, I feel like they have a sense of responsibility. Like I'm paying my bills, I'm paying my rent, like I'm doing this thing. Like what I'm doing is like it's because of me, not because my parents are doing it for me, not because of the government is paying for my schooling or lunch or whatever. Now I'm doing this, like I moved out by myself. I think it's kind of like a sense of pride that you're doing it. Like from you being a kid, everything being given to you in a sense, in a way. Now you're producing, and you're getting the benefits of what it is that you're producing. And I think that's a sense of responsibility that a lot of people do like. Yeah. Because I know like there's been times that I've heard like, I feel like I'm an adult now. Like I'm I moved out. I pay for my stuff, and I feel like that sense of responsibility, it gives people purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's one of the things I feel like it gives people purpose, because that's one of the things that I've also seen, that people, when they don't have to worry about rent, when they don't have to worry about pretty much anything financially, and they're also giving freedom. I feel like that's the time where people start creating problems in their head with everything around them. But once you do like have those responsibilities, get that adult, reach that adulthood where you're doing all these things, I feel like it gives life some purpose in a way, because I know there's more than just that, paying bills and the bare necessities. I know that there's probably is more to that than just that, but I do think that it also gives people some purpose, the added responsibilities, and for us it definitely did that. Yep. Because in the last, at least personally for me, I've like, out of high school, even in high school, but more than anything out of high school, like I've never really been like concerned about like being sad or depressed or anything like that, because it's given like adulthood has been given purpose to at least for myself. And so like,
no, I think it's well said. I know in the beginning, adjusting to adulthood, it's very different. It's new. No one is telling you what to do. No one's gonna hold you by the hand and tell you, okay, if you want to start your business, you need to do this. You need to do this, or you should start a business because it's gonna do this, or you should go to school, get this career, become a lawyer, become a doctor. No one's gonna tell you to do that. And how you mentioned, it's just when you have adulthood, you have that freedom to take that responsibility. Become who you really want to be. And I think that's the most important, more than anything.
And like I said, I think it does give a lot of purpose. And so like if someone is concerned about like, oh, fuck, like I'm responsible now, like I'm gonna be responsible now, because now I know like in when you're in school, like the government pays for the schooling and all that, and then you're probably still living at your parents. And so I know that it could be daunting to be thrown out in the world, but at least from our experience, I think it did give we already had a purpose, but it gives us a little bit more sense of purpose and responsibility, and it gives us pride that what we're doing is, we're providing for ourselves, and no one else is doing that. And so I think it's also a very good feeling, like how you mentioned. It's a very good feeling. And so at least someone that's young definitely should look forward to adulthood, because then you're also like, you can now do whatever you want. And so I think that's something good, because I know in school you had to go to school, you have to wake up in the morning, and now when you're an adult, you don't have to do any of that.
Nope.
But then you'll also, I don't want to say like this, but suffer the consequences of your actions.
I don't think not even that, because I know like if you don't want to wake up early, you could work late at night. Like no one's gonna tell you not to.
Yeah.
And you can still get the same amount of work done. You can still get become as successful just waking up later.
Yep.
There's no wrong or right way of doing it.
Yep.
Obviously, like if you want to party for 5 straight years and just not do anything, like yes, you're gonna see the consequences. But when it comes to like, you have a goal to become successful, now you're an adult, you have the freedom, no one telling you exactly what to do. You could do it different types of way. Yep. If you're someone who likes to wake up early in the morning, wake up early. If you're someone who likes to wake up late at night, wake up at night.
And what were we?
I think we were more towards waking up earlier because of the jobs we had.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think pretty much. And even right after high school, we used to go in the morning to the gym.
And I think it's because, at least for myself, I felt like I got most of the stuff done.
Yeah,
so,
in the morning.
In the morning, I wake up, get all my things I need to do done, and then at home I could just do, whatever. If I want to watch YouTube, if I want to watch a movie, Netflix, video games, play soccer, hang out with friends, hang out with family, I have that freedom.
And so at least that's the way that we adjusted to adulthood, and some of the things that we did straight out of high school. And and so if you're just going through that, or if you've gone through that, tell us your experience down in the comments below. And so with that, there's nothing else on your end, nothing else on my end. This has been another episode of Driven. My name is Juan.
My name is Alexis.
And we'll see you on the next one.